Alright, welcome back to One Piece Anime Review episode number 222. This is where I'm viewing the 999th episode of the series. I'll protect you, Chance Encounter, Yamato and Momonosuke. Well, it's Yamato meets Momonosuke. Yeah, that's the name of the episode. Now, this episode does come from chapter 989. But this one, from that chapter, pages 2 through 11, roughly 10 pages that are stretched. And they had a bunch of stuff here. After the recap, we then have basically where we have Nami's obvious reaction to, well, seeing the fact that Frankie ran over Big Mom. Of course, she goes and gives him a hug. Zeus kind of half. It's not really exactly at this point what's going to happen to him, but don't worry, he'll come back. Don't worry about that. So, excuse me. In case you're wondering, Luffy is just there just to witness everything, because basically we're going to get a big moment next week's episode, because it's going to be the first time like we're going to have the full assembled Straw Hat crew next week, which I'm looking forward to that for the next episode, which I'll get to what episode it is, which is quite obvious of a number. So, after they knocked out Big Mom, after Frankie realizes, though, and of course they wonder, like, oh, we're late for the party, let's get on the action. We see briefly the boss, the flower boss, basically taking out some people. And then we see Jinbei ask Nico, hey, Nico, can I borrow you for a minute? It's like, sure. And we'll get back to that. So, then we see Big Mom getting up. Yes, Big Mom. And she's like, well, didn't see that coming. And of course, like, everybody's afraid of her. And of course, she remembers Brook for some of his on-screen, his on-stage nickname, the Soul King. And Frankie, she's never counted before. Yeah, he's actually one of the few Straw Hats she's never seen before in person. She's seen like half of them already. The only ones prior to this arc she's never seen were Zoro, Robin, Usopp, and Frankie. Frankie is one of them. Now she's seen Frankie, and with also the scene, she also gets a chance to meet Nick Robin. So, and he has like, who were you? He's like, I'm Frankie. I'm a cyborg. Fires off his little fist, and then he does about to the radical beam. He was like, Frankie, radical, and then here like what? There's like a big bump, and here comes the numbers. Prior to this, we do see briefly the numbers beating up Chopper and Usopp in the Baraka tank, where they try to take him out, doesn't work, and of course they're basically like beaten up. Of course, we there see that Usopp basically is bleeding from his face. That's nothing unusual, because he's like practically one of like many characters series we've seen doing it. Nami has bled once in the series in the head, mostly just from what I can tell. The only characters who regularly do it are the male characters. Like pretty much all of them have bled from the face. Basically, had like a little head wound. Like, I would say the ones who happen to the most are Luffy and Zoro. These two happen to them a lot. In case you're wondering, though, has it happened to Frankie? No, because I don't know if he has any. I think he has some blood maybe in his back per se, but not in his head. Not really. He gets his face damaged per se, but he's never been caught bleeding per se. And Brook is obviously one that doesn't happen to him because he's a freaking skeleton. So, and of course, well, Frankie's upset the fact that the rocket tank is being held by. Like, he fires his rag at one of the actual numbers. Then we have a stock footage. Yes, second episode where we have freaking stock footage, and that's one of the reasons why this episode was stretched out for so long. Excuse me. Though the stock footage does play a small role in the episode itself. Mostly put the stock footage is from, get this, Thriller Bark. When was the last time that arc was a prep in the series? Thriller Bark. An arc that's simply basically a spooky arc. And it's mostly all the Straw Hats at that point taking on frickin' oars. Which at the time was basically the fully assembled crew of the Straw Hats, which was Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Frankie, Brooke, who had joined after this arc wrapped up. Pretty much everybody who was part of the Straw Hats at that point fought the Oars and defeated it. And of course, Frankie is able to take it down one of them no problem, thanks to the fact his power has improved over the course of the 2-year time skip. Now you might ask, does he fire it on Big Mom? No, not necessarily. She takes out her. Of course, we do see when the episode starts up, we do see her hat floating. Yes, her talking hat floats. Which, that's unusual. I don't think it ever did that in the manga I could think of. I was reading it like, nope, the hat was not floating. And then, of course, it starts back the sword. She's trying to swing it on Frank. Frank is, like, nervous. And then her arm is caught by Jinbei, where he basically does a judo flip and has Nico Robin do her little hands thing, where she just rolls her basically out of the way, right out of the area, probably outside. And she's probably coming back angry, of course. This is basically most of the Straw Hats here. And it's great to see most of them reunite here, with the exception of Sanji and Zoro and Luffy. Meanwhile, though, Luffy hops up one level. And, of course, Yamato briefly battles Uchi and seemingly finally beats Uchi. Because, as far as I can tell, I don't think Uchi appears after this. I think she's still unconscious. I mean, it's been a little while since I've seen her in the manga. Yeah, I think she's knocked out, per se, because she's finally been beaten by Yamato. And then Yamato finally runs into Momonosuke and Shinobu. Now, of course, we do have the line from the manga. Luffy says he's, of course, as a woman, like he's our ally. And then, of course, they stare. The scene is actually a bit longer in the anime than it is in the manga. The manga is like really quick. It's like 1 page. Here, it's like a few minutes. And here's the thing. I at least got praise this episode for this. At least the title happens during the episode, not during the last 5 minutes. Yes, that was one of my biggest problems with the titles of these episodes lately for this one arc, is that the titles, like, they tease the thing in the title, like, oh, we're gonna have this fight happen, and it doesn't happen until like the last 5 minutes of the episode. Here, only halfway through, like just a little over halfway through the episode. Not bad. It's better to, wait until the last 5 minutes to have this happen. And we have the meet, and of course, I'm Odin Kozuki, and she introduces herself as that. And then we have, in addition, basically, Momo, we have some new lines from him. It's, of course, the complete anime original for this one. She says, wait, you think sees his father's like, wait, breast, horns? You're not my father. You're not Odin. Run away! And of course, you have Shinobu doing her little smoke polish. She runs away, and of course, Yamato chases after them. Which, by the way, she does for the next several chapters. Yes, until they finally convince her, until she finally convinces them. She, even though she kind of is, like, first up as Kasi Ogun, like Odin, like first herself as Odin, but basically she's a big fan of Odin's. Yep, but yeah, well, that's good. That's pretty much it for the episode. We have Luffy teasing going to the roof, and you see the 8th samurai, well, preparing to fight Kaido. But before we fight Kaido, we see the Minx versus Jack and his group, which is probably going to happen for next week's episode. Which next week's episode, which will be my 223rd episode review for this series, for this interview series. Excuse me, for the anime, it's going to be the 1000th episode. And you're like, wow, 1000. That's going to be something. It's weird, though. Next week, basically, it's going to be a good week for me when it comes to anime. Well, in the case of My Hero Academia, my review series for that one reaching episode 100, which will be a new chapter in the manga. And in the case of One Piece, reviewing the 1000th episode of the series. And could you think, though, that I think it was just this year we just reviewed the 1000th chapter, and now we're reviewing the 1000th episode just this year? And this is the second series this year to hit 1000 episodes. Now you might be asking, Nick, is there any other series currently slated to reach that far? No. I think like the only series that actually had 1000 episodes, aside from these 7, this series, of Case Closed, is Pokemon. That's it, just Pokemon. Yeah, that's the only anime I can think of that's currently on the air that actually has over 1,000 episodes. No, seriously, it's pretty much almost the same. It's the only other series I can think of that had that many. because that's the one currently on. I'm sure there are probably other series in the past have had over 1,000 episodes, but currently on the air, this is possibly the third one to do it that I could think of. Like, I'm sure Pokemon hit several years ago, but in the case of current anime, this year, this is the second one I've done it for. First one was for Case Closed. Now it's One Piece's turn. The One Piece, it was completely expected this would happen, and it's happening. Though in the case of Case Closed, I did not review the 1,000 chapter this year. I actually read it. This was, of course, roughly just, I think it was just like about, I read it like a couple years ago. Yeah. But not much to say this episode. It's good. And I can't wait for the very next episode. So looking forward to it. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. I have roughly one more video to do today, and that'll be a review for the newest episode of Boruto. Yes, I'm looking forward to this one, okay? Next video. Bye. I'm just waiting for something here, and